Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Level 5 overview. My name is Torie Ring, and I am the Veteran Services Coordinator with We Honor Veterans. I'll be handling our presentation today. I encourage you all to watch this presentation and refer back to it as needed as you go through Level 5. Today, we're really just going to go through each of the Level 5 requirements in detail to make sure that everybody has a good grasp on exactly what we're looking for these Level 5 requirements. So with that being said, this presentation will cover the requirements for Level 5, and we will also go into our new cohort system and some of the updated materials, this presentation being one of those updated materials that we've created to make achieving Level 5 a little bit more accessible and more streamlined. Just as a reminder, Level 5 is the only We Honor Veterans level that does require membership with NHPCO. Levels 1 through 4 are completely free and available to everybody. However, we do require that you have NHPCO membership if you're going to achieve Level 5. If you are Level 5 and your organization does not continue with their NHPCO membership, we'll reach out to you. Additionally, if you're not sure if you're Level 5 and if you're not sure if you're an NHPCO member and you're looking to achieve Level 5, I recommend reaching out to our solutions team who can confirm that for you, and you'll see their email listed right here. Just as a little overview, we have a ton of different resources for our NHPCO members. We have education, which runs great programming every day of the week nearly. We have our advocacy team, which does work with the Hill, influencing hospice policy. We have our regulatory and compliance departments. Of course, we have quality, which also does a lot of really wonderful programming. And of course, we have our 2 annual conferences, our interdisciplinary conference that takes place in April, and our annual leadership conference, which takes place in September. We also have My NHPCO, which is a professional networking community, and you can join this community based on either your discipline or your interest. We have a lot of different options for you to join, a ton of different communities focused on everything from social work to being an end-of-life doula to volunteering. There's a ton of different communities, and they're all really wonderful and a great place to connect with others who have similar interests to you, where you can all learn from one another and share information. So the full details on our Level 5 update, which includes the new cohort system and some of these updated materials, such as this presentation, are all available in our blog, and you'll see a link to that right here. So getting into our Level 5 cohorts, this is the process that we're going to be using going forward to collect completed Level 5 reports. So when your organization commits to Level 5, then you will receive notification of whether or not you've been sorted into the spring or the fall cohort. This means that you will have the same due date for your Level 5 report annually. So if you are sorted into the spring cohort, then this means that your Level 5 report is due on April 30th on an annual basis. If you're sorted into the fall cohort, then your Level 5 report is due on October 31st annually. This date is then followed by a review period. This is the period in which ourselves, as the We Honor Veterans team, will review these completed reports. We'll check them for quality and make sure that they're consistent with our standards and expectations of Level 5 members. So we'll have a review period from April 30th to May 30th, and then October 31st to November 30th, respectively, depending on which cohort you're in. During this time, too, we will also reach out to any of our partners who might need some revisions to their Level 5 report. We'll send you an email with the outline of what revisions are required, and we'll request that you make these revisions by either June 30th if you're in the spring cohort or December 31st if you're in the fall cohort. Also, as a reminder, we are returning to our pre-COVID standards, and so we will not be able to grant the same degree of extensions that we have before. We're really trying to return to our having a 1-year process for completing Level 5. So this means that if your organization does not submit your Level 5 report by this respective due date, or if your report is disapproved and you do not complete all of the required revisions for approval by the revisions deadline, then you are at risk for being re-ranked at Level 4. And we will reach out to you if that is the case, and more information about that re-ranking is also available on that previously mentioned blog posting on our website. As for the timeline, you will continue to always have at minimum 1 year to submit your level 5 report. In the process of transitioning to this cohort system, we did see that some partners had a little bit more than a year, but going forward, everyone will have at minimum 1 year to submit their completed level 5 report. We also ask that all of your activities take place within a 1 year time frame from the date that you're submitting your report. As I also mentioned on our last slide, we will no longer be providing automatic extensions. We're returning to this pre-COVID standard and also want to ensure that our partners that are able to turn everything in by their respective due date are receiving the recognition that they deserve. If you do have some sort of extenuating circumstance happening, you are welcome to reach out to us and request an extension, and those requests will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. I also want to make it clear that if at any point your organization is not able to meet your deadline and does get re-ranked at level 4, you are still completely able to continue to pursue level 5 on your next due date. It does not bar you from achieving level 5 in the future. It's only for that time frame that you would be re-ranked at level 4, and then on your next due date, you'd be able to submit again to achieve level 5. This is our updated level 5 report template. So this is one of those updated materials that I was speaking about. So this is a template. You'll see a little screen capture of it here on the right. And I also have it linked here. It's also available on our webpage and a couple other areas throughout our site just to make sure that everybody has access to it. So this just walks through all of the required activities for level 5. It also provides a little bit more clarification and language than our previous report did on what exactly we're looking for each of these requirements. I also want to really emphasize the importance of using either this template or some other sort of physical copy of your choosing when you're completing level 5. As we know, level 5 takes a year, and a year can definitely feel like a long time, and it's easy for things to get forgotten. So we really encourage you to use a hard copy for that reason, but also because we do have limited storage on our site. We have over 3,000 partners, and we try to store all of your information on our site, but unfortunately, we cannot contain unsubmitted or in progress reports on our site for longer than 90 days. So any information that you put in your report that's not yet a submitted report will only be there for 90 days, and then it will be removed. And this is really just to maintain our standards with our storage and make sure that we have sufficient storage for all of your completed and approved reports to continue to be stored on our site. So definitely check out this template and use it going forward in your next level 5 submission. We also have a ton of additional tools on our level 5 webpage to help you. So as we walk through the next couple of slides, I'll reference a variety of different forms and documents that might be helpful for you or might be required for you to review. And these are all available on our site. We also have a level 5 example report that's available on our site, which is a great thing to refer back to if you ever have a question of exactly what we're looking for in our report, or just want to review what a successful level 5 report looks like. Also going forward, we did have a bit of an update to our mentorship agreement. So the mentorship agreement has changed in two ways. One way is where it is housed on our site. Previously, we had this on the public end of our site, but now we have moved it to be inside the partner portal. So this means that to view this level 5 mentorship roster, you're going to have to log in with your organization ID. We're removing the previous roster from the site and keeping it only on the inside of the partner portal to ensure that all of your contact information is kept safe. We also updated the consent process for agreeing to be listed as a mentor. So this reads, by agreeing, you assert that you have a firm understanding of the We Honor Veterans program and are capable of providing guidance to lower level We Honor Veteran partners. You also assert that you have been your organization's We Honor Veteran primary contact for 1 year or more. So this is something that if you meet these qualifications and you feel that you have a really good understanding of We Honor Veterans and have been a We Honor Veterans primary contact for 1 year or more, then you're able to commit to being a mentor for other lower level We Honor Veterans partners. However, if you don't meet these qualifications or you don't feel that you're capable of providing this sort of guidance, then you also do not have to check this box. And this consent will be listed on your level 5 report. So getting into the way that we have refreshed the level 5 requirements, this is primarily a facelift. Overall, the requirements and activities have not changed since when we rolled out level 5. We've only made extremely minor tweaks to improve clarity and comprehension. So these tweaks are primarily just around language and how we're conveying our requirements to you. So as you see, we've sorted all of the level 5 components into 4 different categories. We have organization education, community engagement, volunteer program, and data collection. Looking at this in a bit more detail, you'll see each of the activities that falls into each of these categories. So we have a number of requirements for organization education, community engagement, and so forth. And in the next few slides, we're going to go into each of these in depth. This is also one of the materials that's available on our site. You can use this as a checklist as you work through level 5. Again, you'll be working on level 5 for a year, so it's definitely helpful to have some sort of a checklist to help you keep track of what items you have achieved and which ones you're still in the process of working on. So this is also available for download on our site. What a doozy. This was a comment that was left by one of our level 5 completers. I think it really sums up that level 5 can be a doozy. It's a lot of work, and we're constantly trying to ensure that it is both something that is rigorous and is a significant achievement, but also not something that creates an unnecessary amount of burden to those of you who are working towards this. So we hope that these materials, as well as all of the other materials that we've provided to you, will help you as tools and aids as you work to complete level 5. So getting into our organization education, you'll see here I've laid out all of the requirements required for the organization education component, and we will dive into each of these in more depth in the coming slides. So for our staff and volunteer trainings, this is something that you have been participating in since you were at level 1. And I think it's important to note too that, of course, as you've probably noticed, all of our levels build upon the last. And so for this requirement, we're requiring that you do 4 veteran-centric presentations to your staff and volunteers. That's the requirement for if you are achieving level 5 for the first time. If you are renewing level 5, we ask for a minimum of 2 veteran-specific presentations. So of course, you can find training materials, webinars, resources, lots of different things on our website, on our resource library. At this time in March 2024, we have about over 300 different resources. So a ton of great stuff that you can utilize. But you're also completely welcome to use any outside materials, whether that's a training created by your agency, having a veteran come in and speak, having somebody from the VA come in and speak, including something from Psych Armor, any of those things that still maintain that they're veteran-centric and end-of-life focused are completely acceptable. Then we have our Psych Armor 15 things. So we want you to include 15 things veterans want you to know from Psych Armor in your training and orientations. We want to make sure that staff are viewing this at least once. And then, of course, again, if anybody needs a refresher. For our Vietnam focused trainings, when you are completing level 5 for the first time, we ask that you focus on these 3 core videos. So we want all of your staff to view PTSD in Vietnam veterans, moral injury in Vietnam veterans, and suicide prevention in Vietnam veterans. There's also a box here on the right that you'll see where you can add any additional trainings that you might choose to incorporate. So for instance, you might choose to incorporate trainings specific to trauma or veteran-specific psychosocial issues at end of life, anything like that that feels relevant to your staff and volunteers' education on Vietnam-era veterans. Then for those of you who might be completing level 5 for a second, third, fourth, even fifth time for your renewal, we have the ongoing Vietnam-focused education component. So this is only for those of you who are completing your level 5 renewal. So staff that have already viewed the 3 core Vietnam veterans-focused training videos on PTSD, moral injury, and suicide prevention do not need to renew those. We just ask that any staff that are new and have not viewed those before view those. And then for your staff that have viewed those presentations before, we ask that you choose one of these 3 options that are laid out here. We ask you to then just include the number of staff that completed this, and then also describe which of the 3 options you chose. Of course, we also encourage you and require that you have a VA accredited agent on staff or a relationship with a VSO. We also require that you complete our VA fact sheet. This is a guide that includes contact information for a variety of different departments within the VA. So really handy as a useful sheet either for your staff's use or even if you feel that it's necessary to give out to patients in some way. A really great resource that we ask that you complete and just upload to the partner portal. And also, if you are completing level 5 as a renewal, you might want to check and make sure that all of these contact information and processes that you've laid out here are up to date and current. We have our screening guide, which is intended to support organizational and development of screening interventions for trauma-informed care. So we ask that you review this screening guide, which is linked on our Level 5 webpage. We ask that you implement it into your patient care plans, and you utilize the screening tools and relevant interventions with all patients for whom it is necessary. And then on our Level 5 report, we just ask that you provide a brief summary of how this implementation has gone. We have our standards of practice, again, something that's available on our Level 5 webpage. So we ask that you review this and then provide the number of staff that participated in this review. Now getting into our next section of Level 5, we have our community engagement. So you'll see here all of the components of this. For our community education presentations, we're asking that in collaboration with your HVP, you conduct at least 3 virtual or in-person community education presentations. And these can be done at a variety of different venues, whether it's a veteran-centric organization like a VA facility or stand down, a community organization such as a university, or a healthcare organization such as a hospital or a skilled nursing facility. Any of these are completely acceptable. Additionally, the goal of these events can vary. So depending on who you're presenting to, you might choose to have your presentation focus on volunteer recruitment or developing partnerships in your organization, or just generally improving the awareness of veterans' end-of-life needs. We also require that one of your presentations include a panel discussion. I think that can sound a little intimidating, but really that just means that you have 2 or more speakers speaking on and answering questions around a particular topic. And those speakers can be individuals from inside your organization, from outside your organization, or a combination. We also ask that you complete 4 vet-to-vet cafes. This is really just a very casual way for you to provide an open space for veterans in your community to come together and discuss any of their experiences and just be with one another. Often these can be held at nursing homes, senior centers, VFWs. This is one of the components of Level 5 that does really well. I've heard our partners say that they've had a vet-to-vet cafe in place for over 9 years. So this is something that the community really appreciates. And also it could be a potential segue to getting people aware of veterans' end-of-life needs or potentially interested in volunteering as a veteran volunteer. We also ask that you complete 2 community or statewide events. One of these should be a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day event, and the other event can be an event of your choosing. So this can be a community service event, this can be participating in a local parade, being part of a radio show spotlight, any of these sorts of things. We see a lot of creativity and diversity here. Then we have our volunteer program. So these are those 3 requirements for the volunteer program. So we ask that you provide details on your vet-to-vet volunteer program, specifically looking to see the total number of veteran volunteers that you have. We want to see their orientation process, so any formal or informal training that they go through, and also some information about the activities that they're participating in as veteran volunteers, whether that's involving themselves in direct patient care and visiting other veteran patients, or perhaps they're more interested in doing something behind the scenes, such as helping out with events or writing cards or things like that. I also want to add that while we require that you have a veteran volunteer program, we don't require that you have any specific number of volunteers. We know that some organizations might have 1 or 2 really great volunteers, and other organizations might have 20 plus veteran volunteers. And this all really depends on your community. So, for instance, if you're in a rural community, it might be harder to find consistent veteran volunteers, but we encourage you to continue your outreach and make sure that you have a process in place for orientation and what activities they would be involved in. We also want you to consider any kind of more creative ways that veteran volunteers can get involved too, if they're not interested or not able to engage in direct patient facing care. As for data collection, these are the different components that we're looking for this requirement. So getting into it, we have our veterans data for the total number of veterans you've served, the period of service they were in, any VA service utilization, and we ask that you keep track of this data over a 9-month period in your data workbook. We'll get into the data workbook a little bit more in the future slides. The data workbook is something that we offer to you as a tool, but it's also not required that you utilize it or hand it in. But we do ask that you have at least 9 months of data. You can add more than that, but we want to see at minimum 9 months of data. We also ask for data about your Vietnam veterans. So if anybody was treated for PTSD, moral injury, or suicide prevention while they were on hospice care, and additionally, what treatments were used. We also ask for information about your pinning ceremonies. So we want to see some examples, summaries, photos, flyers, who participated, all of those sorts of things. This is definitely one of the requirements where so many of you go above and beyond and do beyond what is required of you. And we love to see these awesome events. And we also just ask that you have the total number of veterans pinned. This is our data workbook, which was one of our previous requirements that we're no longer requiring you to use, but it's still going to remain available on our website for your use if it's a helpful resource for you to keep track of your data and events throughout the year. And then we have our annual report, and this is a great way to summarize your year in review with We Honor Veterans. This is a great report for you to share either with your community, your organization, really anybody that you want to demonstrate to all of the many activities that you've done. You can choose to highlight a veteran volunteer or even a veteran patient or family member. You can provide any outside of the required activities information. For instance, let's say you do a vet to vet cafe every month, which is pretty common. You can provide some details about that. You can also include your data as well. So some of the numbers of veterans that you've served, and some people will get really committed to this and do some really beautiful graphics here as well. And also best moments or any flyers or pictures that you took throughout the year are also great to include. That being said, that is all of the required activities for level 5. All of this information is available on our site as a tool to help you in pursuing level 5. But we're also here to answer your questions. You can always contact us at the veterans email, which is listed right here. You're also always welcome to join in on our office hours, our partner networking calls, anything like that. We're always here to help you, and we wish you the best of luck as you pursue this. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. I hope that this was a valuable presentation, and I will now end the presentation.